and welcome to ACC-OC's podcast, The City Square. This show bringing together elected officials, OC residents, and stakeholders to discuss smart policy solutions to improve the quality of life for Orange County's 34 cities. I'm your host, ACC-OC President and Garden Grove City Councilwoman Stephanie Klopfenstein. And today, before we get to our episode, I have a very special guest with us, Jerry Amante. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Absolutely. So you were a former council member and mayor in the city of Tustin.
I was.
How many years were you elected official there?
From 2004 to 2012, so 8 years on council.
That's wonderful. I'm coming into my last year on the city council in Garden Grove as well. It's always a really special time to be able to serve the city we love, isn't it?
It really is. It's a great privilege to serve your fellow citizens. It's always fun.
Most definitely. And you were also a founding member of the ACC-OC.
I was a founding member along with several others who started the ACC-OC back when it was an infant, and now look at it, it's flourished and it's become what it is today.
It really has, absolutely. And so tell me a little bit about how the City Square came to be, because you were the original host.
In 2012, I was coming out of office. We were trying to figure out new ways to advance public policy and to send the message to allow our elected officials and stakeholders in Orange County talk about what made us a unique place and why we were doing special things. And the City Square came an idea that, came out of a conversation a bunch of us had. Said, where would we gather in the old days to be able to exchange stories about public policy? We'd go to the City Square. Somebody said, why don't we podcast it? And here we are.
That's really great. What did the podcast look like at that time?
It was
as professional as this?
No, it was not it was much more primitive than this.
Okay.
We recorded in a studio. We had OC Talk Radio as a base so we could go into the studio, but it was all live. It was unscripted. We brought in people and talked to them about what they were doing in their city, what they would share about what they thought was exciting about what was going on in Orange County. And it had a lot of fun little features in it. We had a little segment called Is It a Law? Where I would ask the host ask as host the questions to our elected officials or our guests, and they would have to guess whether or not it was or wasn't a law. There was only one city council member, Mike Posey from Huntington Beach,
I know Mike.
Whoever got them all right. He holds the record.
It doesn't surprise me.
5 out of 5. And the last question was a tough one for him. Is in Arcadia, is it legal for you to give the right of way to a flamingo, or do you have the right of way?
Are you serious?
So I asked him, is it a law? And he answered it correctly. It is a law, still on the books in Arcadia. Flamingos have the right of way. So we had fun little segments like that. We even had some of our fellow council member, Dave Harrington, who was on Lisa Viejo Council, would be our roving reporter. Wherever he was in Orange County, he'd phone in. We'd put him through the soundboard in the studio, and he would talk to us about what the weather was like where he was and what he was doing that day. So it was a much different show, not nearly as professionally produced as this.
Well, I hope we have an opportunity, though, to add in some of that as well. It's nice to be
fun.
able to see people, just who they are in real life, right? Everyday life, and see their personalities.
The good thing about the show was it was the first time anyone in Orange County had really focused on highlighting public policy and allowing the people who were doing the good work around the county to actually come and talk about what they were doing. So it was great because it was a serious place to talk about serious policy, but have fun as well.
That's wonderful. It's such a great podcast. I'm really excited to have an opportunity to sort of relaunch the City Square, and I'll be probably asking you for some pointers and some tips along the way.
Yeah, I don't think you'll need any of those. You'll do just fine. And I'm delighted that ACC-OC is back to putting the City Square back on the air again. It's really a wonderful opportunity to highlight what the association does and what its members are doing, which is really important to the people of Orange County.
Absolutely. We're doing some great things here at ACC-OC.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much, Jerry, for
Thanks
being
for
here
having
and
me.
being here on the very first City Square this time around.
It's a special invitation. I can't tell you how much fun I had this morning when the City Square popped up on my calendar again.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks again very much.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. We're going to have our special guests here at the City Square. On behalf of ACC-OC and the City Square podcast, we'd like to take this moment to thank our partners at National Core for their support. Your commitment to affordable housing and community development has been a driving force in creating positive change in Orange County. We're grateful for the impactful collaboration and look forward to continuing to make a difference together. If you'd like to learn more about how you can support our show, find us at accoc.org/The City Square to learn more today. Hi, and welcome back to the City Square. I'm your host, Stephanie Klopfenstein. Joining me now is Sue Parks, President and CEO of Orange County's United Way, Elizabeth Andrade, Executive Director for 211OC, and my esteemed colleague, ACC-OC Executive Director Chris Murray. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great
It's
to be here.
fantastic to have you here as we relaunch the City Square for ACC-OC. I know that, Sue, you were in Garden Grove with me last year. You have an initiative, Walk the Parks, as it were, and Garden Grove was fortunate enough to have you and quite a great team walk our downtown area in Garden Grove. And I think it's just such a fabulous way to build community and also build upon the core values of the United Way. So it's always fun to be with you and to enjoy those walks. Thank you for that.
Oh, well, we were so thrilled that you joined us, Stephanie. So thank you. And I just love walking these cities, but Garden Grove is always special to be in. So thank you for making it such a warm, a warm welcome to all of us.
Thank you so much. Well, I also recently saw that the United Way is approaching its 100th anniversary. That is an incredible milestone.
Yes, it is. And I keep reminding people, I'm not turning 100. The organization is turning 100.
You most definitely are not.
So, yes, we're very excited about it. It started in 1924 in Santa Ana, and it's grown to be what it is after all these years, and 100 years of impact and many more to come.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. And I also noticed that you recently acquired 211OC. That's why we have Elizabeth here today as well, to be able to share just all of the robust help and information and referral servicing that you do for residents and families and people here in Orange County. So I'm really excited today to be able to highlight that and showcase this partnership and what you bring to Orange County.
Yeah, well, we're really appreciative of the opportunity to share more about 211OC because it is such an amazing service. And as Orange County United Way, we've always been supportive of 211OC. Many people don't know that 94% of the country is covered by 211.
Wow.
And so and they're all separate nonprofits in their local community, or they're part of other nonprofits. And over 50% of those are led by their local United Way. And so we've really been watching the progression, and we're so excited about some of the things that the 211OC was doing to make sure connections really happen for people in need.
Yes.
And as we started talking to their leadership, we got our board involved. We thought this is a really wonderful opportunity for us to build on the great work that 211OC has done, but take it to another level in terms of how we can support the nonprofit community, how we can support more people who are looking for services, and what we can do in terms of more robust technology and increasing our network. So we are thrilled. But my biggest accomplishment of this is to hire the person next to me, who is our executive director of 211OC, Elizabeth Andrade, and that she's just going to take it to a whole new level. So thank you, Liz, for joining us.
Very kind, very kind. And it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to share with you about the progress and the evolution of 211 Orange County. I've been in the nonprofit space for the last 15 years and have worked with 211. I've relied on the services of 211 Orange County as a case manager, connecting people in need to vital resources. And to be in this role at this time under the leadership of Orange County United Way and under Sue's direction is quite the opportunity.
That's amazing. You talk about the resources and how you're directly connecting and helping people here in the county. Can you give an example or just share what some of those resources are?
Of course. So imagine that you are not unable to pay your rent. And you may mention it to a friend, you may mention it to a family member, you may reach out to your elected official and let them know. And so what we have here in Orange County and what we've had for the last 20 years has been the ability to dial 211. And when someone dials 211, what they can expect is a live person on the other end. And that person is trained and equipped with the resources available in the county that best meets their needs. So think about matching the resource to the person's need and making that connection. And so in that, the goal is to have that person access the resources that they need. And over 50% actually now of our calls that we're receiving, over 10,000 calls a month of Orange County residents are related to housing, as one example.
Okay.
And so other resources that are available are what you can imagine: rental assistance, utility assistance, legal support, employment opportunities, childcare opportunities, subsidized care for the little ones as well. And so just an array of services. We have over 1,000 agencies, community-based organizations that are part of our network that have said, yes, please, 211 list our services on your directory, as well as, and that makes up over 2,000 programs of aid in the community.
That is an incredible impact. And obviously you're a lifeline to so many. So I can definitely see why this partnership is so important and how you're helping so many people. Talk a little bit about the homeless community and how perhaps 211 has helped in that regard as well.
Yes. The partnership that we hold with the folks who are providing the care to those who are unhoused is pivotal in our success. We serve as the virtual front door for our Orange County continuum of care. And so when someone finds themselves without housing, if they're a family or a veteran, specifically to 211, they can call and we will connect them to the appropriate resource and expect that they get picked up and they get cared for and supported in the appropriate way. But the needs around housing are, yes, everyone needs housing, and then the support services so that they can remain housed. And so we see ourselves as the aid walking alongside not only the person in need of care, but also the nonprofit community who's providing the variety of care options to ensure that that person has a whole person approach. And so when someone is in need of housing, we want to immediately connect them to housing and support, and then also come alongside and think about what other resources do they need. Are they employed? Are they underemployed? Can we connect them to employment services? What other food pantry do they need to support with their food needs? And so looking at ways to ensure that their costs are reduced and their income is increasing so that they can maintain that housing opportunity.
So you're helping them at multi-different levels. It's not just a phone call and oh, here's some services. You're taking it in a complete wraparound approach.
That's exactly right. And I will share some of that evolution that 211 is facing right now is tremendous with the opportunity that technology brings us. And for the last year, we've been piloting what we call Get Help OC. And Get Help OC is a technology platform that allows us to best connect people to the resources that they need. And so it provides for care coordination. And so if I'm a service provider at organization A and Sue is a service provider at organization B, through this technology platform, through Get Help OC, we're able to connect that person in need from one organization to the other and avoid that person needing to go knock on multiple doors, tell their story over and over again, fill out a variety of intake forms. We're streamlining that process, not only for the end user, for that client, that person in need, but also for the community-based organizations.
That's amazing synergy to be able to connect all that together. I mean, if you're already battling issues and trying to figure out what you're going to be doing, to be able to have somebody sort of hold your hand and say, I'm here with you and I'm going to walk you through this every step of the way, that's crucial to, I think, them finding that success and building their life back if they need to.
Yeah, the majority of people call in have 3 to 4 different needs. And so again, you can see before they're having to repeat over and over, causing more stress and more anxiety. So most people say yes, give permission to share their information. So it really is a tremendous service. And we're excited to build on what's been built, bring more service providers into the network and have more of these connections being made. And if they don't get made, like for somebody says, no, we just can't serve somebody else today, 211's team, this amazing team, will know that didn't happen and can move them on to somebody else who can help. So again, it's a really comprehensive effort, and I'm so excited for us.
That's great, and it's definitely needed. I know as a council person, I see that need every day. We see the desire for mental health assistance, and so to have something like this that's, as I said, reaching the whole person and really connecting them to everything that they might need to help them get back on their feet and build a successful life here in Orange County is extremely important. Do you happen to have a story or an example of a particular person or maybe a story you've heard through your time working with 211 OC that you could share with us? I always just love to hear kind of those success stories, somebody that called and maybe walk us through what that process looked like for them.
Yeah, of course. And so I'll make the distinction. 211 has been an organization. 211 is also a 3-digit dialing code.
Yes.
But you can access the 211 portfolio, Get Help OC, through calling, so dialing 211, through texting 898-211, or by self-navigating through our website. So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to access. And so that's how you can get connected. We also offer the over-the-phone support with our care coordinators, but we have 2 who are placed in family resource centers. So integrating the tools and the technologies into a place where people go and approach for services. And so we had recently a report back from a family who had approached one of the family resource centers, had gone in and had been served by one of our care coordinators, our 211 care coordinators. And through that initial interaction was connected with food services, needed food for that day. So the need was urgent and immediate. Was connected to a food pantry in their area, was also provided the information for what we call access points within the housing world. So their nearest access point, and they needed emergency shelter. So in that one day, in that one interaction, that person was able to meet their immediate needs for that day by being provided with that information, and then came back 6 months later to the Family Resource Center and was able to report back that they received the access to shelter. We're moving into permanent housing.
That's amazing.
We're stabilizing the children. We're in child care. And so again, that ability to provide the information in a way where the person can take action to meeting their needs is critical to the success. And so that's one story. And again, we get over 10,000 calls a month. And
Wow,
through
that's so many
this,
calls.
the volume is tremendous. And
Just
that's
shows you
just
the
the calls. Absolutely.
It's intense. Do you ever have a minor, or do you help children, or what does that look like? You mentioned families and so forth, and we know obviously there's a need for children as well. Do you ever have a high school age person call? Do you offer any suicide prevention and things of that nature as well?
We are closely partnered with the county to ensure that if there is any immediate need, so 211 is a non-emergency line.
Right.
So if there is an emergency that comes
Okay.
up, we directly connect to the appropriate line.
I see.
And so ensuring that the person gets the care that they need in a manner that best suits them. There is a feature on our website where folks are able to self-navigate. So if someone, and I'm thinking about the younger generation,
Yeah,
you mentioned
right.
a teenager, may not be so inclined to pick up the phone and call, they can go on the website and self-navigate themselves and be provided with that same information that they would if they were to call in. And just as a reference, over or nearly 500,000 people use our services a year in Orange County. And so that's, I think, where some of those different types of populations or different age groups, their needs are also met. I'll also mention that 211 is a resource for those providing resources to the community.
Okay.
So you may have a social worker who's working with a child or maybe foster care or along those lines who may call 211 and obtain additional resources and referrals to connect that person to.
And I'd also just like to add that anybody listening, like if they see somebody that they know needs help, again, if it's an emergency, call 911.
Yes.
But if somebody, sometimes somebody sees somebody at a street corner, they don't know if that person's getting help, they can call 211 and give that information. So, it's hard to know in all of the numbers, all of the websites and all that. If everybody out there listening just remembered, call 211, it would help make sure that it's simple for people to know they can provide information on somebody who might be needing help, or they could call for help themselves. And I'll say in times of emergency, so we've seen this in Maui during the fires or in the floods and everything that goes on in different parts of the state or county or world, but also I just say in the fires up in Northern California, the 211 was really the backbone for those communities of where people needed to get help to rebuild their lives. So there might be a point that any of us should remember the number 211, and I just want more people to be aware of it.
That's amazing. So if in need of like a natural disaster or something of that, like that number can be utilized as well for additional help to maybe connect with specific resources.
That's exactly right. We activate in times of disaster. So we are a part of the county's infrastructure in planning for natural disasters to occur.
That's incredible. So you can call, you can text, and you can also use your website as a means to connect with you and get those available resources.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Did you see the numbers fluctuate over COVID and coming out of COVID, and now has the numbers increased, decreased? Are you seeing an uptick? Where are we at this time with that?
We saw a tremendous uptick during COVID, and that was for a variety of reasons. I mean, the need was high. People needed to connect to resources, and there was more resource to provide during that time through 211. It was utilized to ensure that people who needed rental assistance were connected, and so strong partnership again with the county, with the cities to deploy the resources out to the community members as quickly as possible. So we hit a peak there. I'd say that we closed out 2023 with a steadfast number, we closed out 2023 with a steadfast number. We saw a 4% increase from 2022 to 2023. And so that's an indicator that the need is still continuing. We have not seen a tremendous dip in the request for services or the service need.
Those are very robust numbers. What do you see the future of 211 being in this partnership as it continues to grow as you approach your 100-year anniversary with the United Way?
I see us building out this network of service providers, getting more people. What I love about how this was built in the beginning, it was done by listening and how do we take it to the next step. So initially it was just referrals, and now it's also making sure those connections are really made. So to make as many of those connections possible, I think is so exciting. And I also look forward to being able to share more, maybe in a future podcast,
Yes.
more data about what's going on, because I think we'll have data that we could do more predictive analytics together. Where are their needs and how can we act? How can we work more closely with the cities on what we're seeing in their specific area? And data will provide us that opportunity to do that. So I think it's a really robust future for Orange County residents. And so we're so excited to be able to share more today.
Sue, Elizabeth, thank you both so much for being here. You're welcome on the City Square anytime. Thank you for sharing this such important information and all the hard work that you're doing in the county for the residents, families, and individuals. Thank you both again so much for being here. And now we are going to turn things over to our Executive Director, Chris Murray, who's going to share with us all that's happening within ACC-OC and our Policy Pulse.
Well, I'm so excited for this podcast and for our special guests that have joined us today for our inaugural relaunch of
So
City
exciting.
Square. Yeah, there's so many good things happening in Orange County, and this is about helping get that word out, right? And really making sure not only our residents know, but our regional and our state and our federal officials and all folks that represent Orange County are aware of the good work that's happening in partnership with our cities. And that's all that ACC-OC is focused on, really. We had many exciting changes last year that are leading into the growth that we're experiencing this year. We launched our new communications program. The podcast is the latest iteration of that. But we have a dynamic social media campaign, and I hope all of our cities and stakeholders are logging into our channels on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter, or X, as it is now called. We are also building out our resource-based website with member portal to make sure that there is a one-stop shop for policy issues, contact information, the latest happenings on what's happening with our cities and best practices, as well as all of our affiliate members and stakeholders like the United Way, and all of our affiliate members and businesses as well, and our universities who are engaged in Orange County. We are very focused this year on Sacramento. There is a significant, in fact, the largest in the monetary value budget deficit for the state in our history of $68 billion. And we'll know in the next few days if that's going to climb, but we are going to, keeping OC in local government is what we're focused on. So
Absolutely.
we have to protect our local revenue, but
Yes.
also be very mindful of any additional unfunded mandates could come down to cities during this time. So we're going to be very active in working with our cities and having our collective voice in Orange County, up in Sacramento, making sure that our delegation and our administration in California are aware of all the good work we're doing and really try to partner versus just shift resources to the local level in this coming year. There's also a lot that we're doing to expand our resources for cities this year. Mm-hmm. So in addition to our policy committees that are very active with cities now, our standing policy committees being our legislative committee, legislative and regulatory committee, our environment, energy and water committee, housing, and our homelessness committee. This year we're bringing back, as you well know,
Yes.
our economic development and tourism, which are critical to creating jobs locally, and also transportation and infrastructure.
Very important.
And in all of those areas, there's significant additional funding at the federal level, which we're going to help from a resource standpoint tap our cities into and make sure we're bringing as great a share of that as we can. We send an awful lot per capita to both capitals for funding our government and its services. We need to make sure we're bringing as many of those resources back to help our cities deliver those services. So we're super excited about that. I hope everyone will stay engaged and join us for our annual trips, our advocacy programs in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C.
Those
this
are
year.
always fantastic. It's such a great way
Exactly.
to bond and just network and obviously have that interaction with our elected officials.
And we do work y'all pretty hard, right? There's
Yeah.
like 12-hour days of meeting with,
Yes.
with legislators and members of the administration, as well as our agencies in both of those capitals. But it is about making sure our voice in Orange County is heard and resonates.
That's what it's all about.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And then we are also very focused on expanding our infrastructure tours. This month alone,
Those have been very successful, by the way.
we have so many
Yes.
folks turning out for those. So our Songs Tour to go see firsthand the decommissioning process that's happening, that Southern California Edison is spearheading. We are also having a dinner this month. We're going to expand our policy dinners, but this month it is governing in the era of artificial intelligence, which is also a big topic in Sacramento this year, both from a privacy and security standpoint, but also how do we engage those benefits and enhancements to the economy through AI.
It's not going away. We've got to wrap our head around it one way or
It's
the
here
other,
to
right?
stay,
Yep.
so
Yes, it is.
we're going to be engaged. So we're expanding all of those resources. I just can't thank the board enough for how active your leadership is. We couldn't do what we do without this incredible board of elected officials.
It's a great team.
Who go above and beyond their council duties and their own personal and work responsibilities to give back to an organization that is there to solely focus on making sure that the residents and those who live and work in Orange County have the resources they need to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful organization. You have done an incredible job.
Thank
You hit the ground running, and I don't think you've stopped since. I don't even know if you've had a chance to take a deep breath since you joined, but it really shows in just our membership and bringing new cities in and just all the work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah, we've got a lot on the horizon, and I hope folks will stay engaged. This podcast is just a part of that. We're also going to be focused, just for everyone's benefit, on new programming for city staff and our elected officials for professional development, and we're going to really expand into helping bring back as much of that grant funding at the regional, state, and federal level as we can for our cities, and helping especially our smaller cities who don't have government affairs staff access and be aware of timelines and what the process is to be able to capture some of that funding for their cities.
It's crucial, and it's going to be so helpful for so many.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris, so much for that wonderful Policy Pulse update. And I want to thank Sue and Elizabeth again for being here today and sharing all the amazing work that you're doing. And please, just for our listeners, if you can, let everyone know how they can get in touch with and help with the United Way, and also if they need help through 211OC.
Great. Well, again, this is our 100th anniversary. There are many ways to get involved or learn more about our work. UnitedWayOC.org is the best way to connect. Liz.
And if you or anyone that you know needs assistance, you can pick up the phone and call 211, just a 3-digit dialing code. You can text 898-211, or you can visit our website at 211oc.org.
Thank you so much. We also want to make sure that we thank our sponsor, National Core, today. And don't forget, if you want to support this podcast and become a sponsor, you can visit our podcast page to check out all of our sponsor and speaking opportunities. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to our podcast by visiting our website at ACC-OC.org/the City Square. I'm Stephanie Klopfenstein. Thank you so much for listening today. Thanks.